Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Welcome back to the Mid Morning Talk with myself, your guest presenter, Fasiha Davids. And we are coming to the last segment or interview for the Mid Morning Talk, and we are joined by a very special guest. We are still in the theme of Women's Month, celebrating women in so many different fields and women in leadership and just empowerment overall. It's been an absolutely inspiring day of interviews so far. Dr. Aayesha J Soni, an adult neurologist and epileptologist, the first female internationally trained subspecialist in adult epileptology. Thank you so much for joining us. This is so exciting.
Thank you so much for having me, Fasiya. It's good to talk to you.
Of course. I mean, you're the first female in adult epileptology, and you're kind of leading the way in the space. As we honor women, who kind of works and redefines excellence and expands the frontiers of the possibility this Women's Month, we really want to shine a spotlight on you. The fact that you've been internationally trained in the specialist role in epileptology. I'm sure it was very challenging in your time. Please share with us your journey and your journey even through UCT, kind of before you got into the practical side of the field.
So I think I've been getting questions from a lot of people asking me how this journey happened and how I came here. And I think I'm very grateful to Allah that I'm here now and everything is coming together. But I have to say that the journey was filled with failures, rejections, and things don't always go, most of the time, they don't go according to plan. And so I think that getting to the end of your journey or wherever you're going, it's always important to remember that what people see from the outside might look very glamorous, but it's always filled with failures. And being able to pick yourself up after those failures and just being kinder to yourself is really what will define the end goal, I think. So I really come to appreciate the journey. In terms of how I came here, so I really do believe that my path was chosen for me and I didn't choose it. And I say this because if you speak to most neurologists, most of them will tell you that they've wanted to be a neurologist since they were younger, but that's never been my dream. And I actually found it very complicated. I really wasn't interested in neurology, but my elder sister was diagnosed with a spinal tumor. And that's when I actually started getting interested in neurology. I started reading about it, and that's how I became a neurologist. So, even though it was a very trying and difficult time, and everything I do is in her memory, if there is any goodness in it, I think it led me to my path in that way. And then when I started neurology, I actually found epilepsy specifically very boring. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to be interested in epilepsy. And so when you do training at Groote Hospital and University of Cape Town, you have to do a concurrent master's. And I was told by the HOD to rather choose somebody I like working with instead of a topic. And I chose one of the consultants who I really got along with, Dr. Lee Pan, and he was interested in epilepsy. And within a month or two, I was just completely enthralled by it. I was really motivated by the fact that it impacts so many people and it literally can make your life very difficult in all aspects, but it's treatable. And it's just that there's so much stigma around it, so much lack of awareness. And that's what really motivated me to get involved in epilepsy. And from then on, it's kind of like my journey has been written for me. So yes, that's it's wasn't really planned, but I really love what I do.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Aayesha Soni. I mean, incredibly inspiring story, and my deepest condolences to the loss of your sister. It's beautiful how her memory now lives on in enabling you and I guess motivating you to kind of keep going and help others. Let's, for viewers and listeners who maybe don't have medical background or is not too familiar with epilepsy, let's discuss it as a medical condition, and then let's explore what the specialty kind of means in your field, what the specialization means.
So, epilepsy is a neurological condition. It's probably the most common neurological condition after strokes. So very common, and more specifically, it's very common in low to middle income countries like South Africa. So 80% of people living with epilepsy, or globally, actually live in low to middle income countries. What it is it's actually a disease that affects the cells in your brain, and instead of them firing in a very organized manner, they fire in a disorganized manner, and there can be a host of reasons for this. I think that's a broad understanding of what epilepsy is, and then it manifests with physical symptoms. These manifestations, they can cause you to lose consciousness, and so it can affect a person's ability to have a driver's license, their ability to maintain a job, their relationships, because of course it can be very dramatic, and for people who aren't healthcare professionals, it can be quite frightening. And so that's why it might sometimes, due to the underlying cause, have an easy fix, but it's just because there's a lot of stigma around epilepsy, specifically in local cultures in South Africa, and there's just a lot of misunderstanding, even amongst healthcare professionals, and in terms of its management and the options that are available. So that's what really drew me to epilepsy. What I was trained in specifically when I went overseas and I did my fellowship in Canada was a specific intervention called epilepsy surgery, where you can do targeted interventions for certain epilepsies when they come from certain areas of the brain. And this can actually render patients seizure free. And so this is what my master's program was actually focused on. And we set up the first epilepsy surgery service at a public hospital in South Africa when I was at Groote Schuur Hospital during my training. And our first, I'll give you a story just so that you can relate. Our first patient was a 17-year-old gentleman. He came to me and he was having 3 to 4 seizures a week. And he said that he'd really like to study IT, but obviously these seizures were disrupting his studies and he wasn't doing very well. We operated on him. He's been seizure free now for 5 years, and he was able to complete his matric and he's studying IT. So it really can change an entire person's life, and I really just am very passionate about making it more accessible to people and patients, especially in resource limited settings.
That's absolutely amazing. I mean, there's so many congratulations I have to give you just listening to that. One on your specialization and your graduation thereof. And then, of course, on your patient success. But then also on the work you're doing regarding kind of just destigmatizing epilepsy and, pushing for that accessibility, which is so important in the context of South Africa, knowing that we have the potential to do so much as a collective if more people are given the opportunities and the access in order to kind of do what they are meant to do and fulfill their purpose. And speaking about pushing through all these challenges, and you have a story of resilience, and you come from a generation of women that kind of hold some sort of impact in your life, and some sort of resilience. And given that it's Women's Month and we're out here inspiring young girls at home, let's share the story of resilience.
So I think that, like, I really appreciate your congratulations, but truly, nothing that we are is because of us. I believe we stand on the shoulders of giants, and in my case, it really was the support of my parents and specifically my mom. But what you're referring to is actually my mom recently told me that like 2 of my grandmothers from her side were illiterate, and when I learned that, I was just so shocked because I had never known that, but it just speaks to it speaks to the sacrifices that the generations before us made. And I think truly, like, I am where I am today because of all the sacrifices of my parents, of my mom specifically, of my great grandparents, of my great grandmothers who were illiterate but obviously worked so hard to the point that I had the opportunity to go and study in Canada and come back and actually practice and try to make a difference. So for me, I think especially in South Africa, and being a woman of color, and where opportunities don't always present themselves as easily, I truly do believe that we owe everything we are to those who came before us. And anyone else who's in the same position or who might find themselves in spaces where it's not always easy to pursue your dreams, I just encourage you to really pursue your passions aggressively. And when I say that, what I mean is just to create your opportunities for yourself, because our ancestors really made so many sacrifices for us to be here, and I'm really grateful for that. And I've come to realize and appreciate that a lot.
That's absolutely beautiful. And I think gratitude kind of just invites in so much more joy and energy for us to kind of inspire and, kind of pass the baton, and push that legacy forward. And thank you for sharing that story of resilience with us. I want to speak more about the women who played an important role in your life, and then advice for younger women who want to walk a similar path. So excited to dive into that after the break.
Investment and advisory services from an award-winning firm? Look no further than the Belmont Mayer Group, your gateway to unparalleled investment and wealth management. At Belmont Mayer, we believe in the art of wealth creation, a meticulous process fueled by our unwavering commitment to excellence. With a focus on providing elite alternative investments and quality advice, we also pride ourselves on maximizing value for our esteemed investors, as seen through our consistent outperformance. Your financial success is our top priority. Join us at Belmont Mayer and experience the difference firsthand. Ready to embark on a journey of greatness? Contact us today. Reach out to the Belmont Mayer Group on 078 786 1698. Call or WhatsApp or email us at info@belmontmayer.com. Elevate your financial future with Belmont Mayer, where every detail matters.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Make a conscious choice. Sip for change and support Palestine Drinks Africa. With every can, you help end the genocide and stand in solidarity with Palestine. Choose between our original or sugar-free options available in the case of 24. Every sip is a step towards justice. Every purchase a powerful message of unity and support for the Palestinian cause. Contact 082 888-1440 or 082-7739-556 today and be part of the change. Palestine Drinks Africa. Sip for change. Liberty for everyone.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Good afternoon and assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the mid-morning talk with myself, your guest presenter, Fasiha Davids. We are coming to a close of the show. And for our final segment, we are interviewing a wonderful, inspiring woman in power, in leadership, and in the health sector. Her name is Dr. Aayesha J Soni. She is an adult neurologist and epileptologist. She's a UCT alumni and the first female internationally trained in the subspecialist of adult epileptology. Thank you so much again for joining us, Dr. Aayesha. We touched on a couple of things, your journey, your story, looking at epilepsy, destigmatization thereof, and even, in terms of your training in Canada, then coming back home, and how previous generations of women inspired you and helped you kind of, figure out this journey and carve your own path. And so there's just so many things that we can kind of unpack and touch on. But I want us to speak more to the women who played, an important role in your life. And I know UCT Professor Lydia Kane Cross, she's the head of Department of Surgery at Groote Schuur Hospital in Cape Town, stands out as an inspirational figure to you. So maybe you can just share a bit about that story with us.
Prof. Cancross is the head of surgery at UCT, and I think that what I admire most about her is that she's obviously excellent academically, but she's very strong and steadfast in her morals. And I think that's very much something that a lot of people can learn from. Not only because sometimes people come into power by not being completely moral in everything they do, but it's also become increasingly difficult to stand by and speak out for what's right. And one of the things I really admire about her is that she's been very vocal and supportive of the Palestinian cause and speaking out on what's injustice and what we all know is a genocide. So I think women like that, for me, have always been an inspiration. And to say to other younger women, I mean, I've been told numerous times not to be, I myself write about Palestine quite a bit in the general media. And I've told that I shouldn't be so outspoken, that I'm jeopardizing my career, that I should tone it down a bit, that maybe I should keep quiet or lay on the lowdown. And that's never deterred me. On the contrary, it's actually always inspired me to be more vocal. And my true belief is that if you stand by what's right and if you keep your intention pure, then what's meant for you is always going to find you. And that's something that my spiritual mentor, Dr. Intia Soman, always tells me as well. And so if you speak out for what's right, and if you know that you have Allah on your side, and that you have truth and justice on your side, then you never have to worry about your career, because what's meant to happen is going to happen, but also you can carry on with your career with a clear conscience. And so I think that's what I admire most about her.
That's absolutely refreshing to hear. And I think so often, as a society, we may forego our morals and our ethics, to kind of aid ourselves in our careers or whatever endeavors we may have. And we, at some point in our lives, irrespective of which field you are in, you are confronted with moral a model dilemma of sorts, right? And it's often when you kind of at a pivotal point in your life, you have to make some critical decisions that this model dilemma now presents itself. And so having that grounding, having that clarity of standing for what's right, I think is a guiding force for us to make that decisions. And like you said, the Almighty is always on the side of those who chooses to do the right thing and who chooses to stand for justice. And I mean, what's happening in Palestine right now is the worst that we've ever seen in 76 years. The Gaza Strip has been declared as a full-blown famine by the United Nations last week. I know you've spoken out about Palestine, and maybe there's a message of international solidarity that you'd like to give to healthcare workers in Gaza.
I think the healthcare workers in Gaza are the true heroes and the epitome of what all healthcare workers aspire to be when we become doctors and when we take the Hippocratic Oath, because they truly embody it. And really, I'm in awe of them, as I'm sure all of the other healthcare workers are. We've spoken a bit about and written about the atrocities, but I think they go ahead and they go a step further that so many other healthcare workers don't. So, for example, when we work in South Africa, especially when we work in the public hospitals, we know it's going to be difficult a lot of the time. You won't have lunch, you won't eat supper, you know, you're going to make those personal sacrifices. But they take that sacrifice to a level that is really unseen and unheard of, and is truly, truly heroic. And so I really am in awe of them. And I really truly believe that their sacrifices and what they're doing, staying there, serving their people, even though they're undergoing the same struggles that those around them are, and yet they're expected to be that much stronger, is something truly what they will speak of in generations to come, of what heroes are made of. And so all our support and prayers are with them, as always, and hopefully there will be justice soon.
Inshallah, I mean, what an emotional note to kind of touch base on. And long live the people of Gaza, the healthcare workers, the journalists, and I mean every single human being who continues to either leave their legacy by staying in their home and fighting, or who has been displaced and is now a refugee, and wants to continue their culture and their lineage. I think it's so, as heartbreaking as this is, we kind of have to acknowledge that Gaza won't die, Palestine won't die in some way, in some form. It'll always live on throughout generations to come. You've walked an inspiring path yourself, and you're such a strong woman, and you've gone through an incredible amount of challenges, like you explained earlier, kind of carving out your path for your career, both academically, but also socially, being a woman of color, etc., having to make opportunities for yourself. What advice do you have for women aspiring to walk a similar path?
I think just to reiterate what I've said earlier is that opportunities won't always come to you being of our demographic, and that's just the reality that has to be accepted. And so it's just something to accept. I think it's just the way the world is. Having traveled abroad quite a bit and traveled, it seems to be the order of things today. But I don't think that that should be used as a deterrent to keep you from realizing your dreams in any way. And like I said, just pursue your passions aggressively. And when I say aggressively, I mean just with all the passion and with all the resilience and personal resilience that you can. And just try to make as many opportunities as you can for yourself. So when an opportunity presents itself, just take it, because you won't always be presented with the opportunities that other demographics might have the privilege of. So that's the first advice I think that I've learned along the way. And that doesn't mean at all putting down other people, doing other people down. It's always maintaining your kindness and your morals, but just trying to make opportunities for yourself. And the second thing I think is just to always keep your intention pure. Like I said, it's easy to get engulfed, especially in the world of academics, but then also in every other sphere, to get engulfed by the politics of it or the undercurrents or materialistic gains. But if you keep your intention pure and that everything we're doing is for the purpose of Allah and to serve to serve mankind and His creation, I think things become much clearer. And so many times I've found myself very overwhelmed and there's a lot happening, and then if I just realign my intention, it usually helps to ground myself and keep me focused on the path.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that wonderful advice for young girls and women in this space, carving their own path. And I'm sure it's going to resonate a lot with listeners and viewers. May the Almighty continue to open up your path and grant you continuous success and impact on your journey. What a wonderful guest. Absolutely heart fulfilling conversation. This was Dr. Aayesha J Soni. She is an adult neurologist and epileptologist, UCT alumni, and the first female internationally trained subspecialist in adult epileptology. Thank you so much for joining us. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah so much for having me. Walaikum salam.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.